Hey guys, just doing a quick video. I want to show you guys how to take apart the 3D printer extruder contraption and replace the nozzle and Bowden tube. So you'll find yourself needing to do this when you're experiencing a clog that you just can't seem to fix with the cleaner filament or anything like that, or in my case when you're switching from PETG to PLA to avoid clogs from remaining parts and pieces of the unmelted PETG plastic getting stuck in the nozzle. You're just going to want to switch it out. I know some people like to clean out the nozzle, but I prefer just to switch it out to save myself time and headaches from having to worry about clogs. So just standard printer maintenance. You're going to need a tool to undo some of the parts, the screws, a little Allen wrench, a new nozzle. I use a 0.4, a Bowden tube, and I guess we don't need these, but I have them anyway. As you can see, I already removed the plastic that was in there, the PETG roll. Printer's on. I preheated the nozzle. Didn't need to worry about the bed because I'm working here. Don't want to heat up those tools, burn myself. I'm already gonna have to be careful to not burn myself with the nozzle as is, because 250 degrees Celsius is quite hot. So I'll be taking it apart, replacing those pieces, and then loading up the 5 kilogram Zytec. So the first step is to undo these two little screws right here, and I'm going to use this Allen wrench, make sure it's the right size. Just going to undo those, and that will release the fan contraption. Don't have a tripod yet, so I'm having to do this one-handed. Don't want to lose those. So they should just be hand tight. I'm going to undo these, and once I undo these, I'm going to take the fan, or I guess in this case the fans, off so I can access what I need to take off the nozzle. Awesome. Just be careful, the part right there is extremely hot, so don't want to burn yourself. So with the fan propped up, I got it right there. It's still wired up, so I don't want to mess with any of that. I removed the little silicone casing from the heat block. You can see the nozzle down there, and we got the tube right here. Right there was a little blue piece. This thing needs to focus. That I took out and put right there. So this end's pretty easy. I can leave this in here, or I can unscrew it, but I'm gonna choose to just leave it. In terms of this piece, it's easiest to remove by taking your wrench. This is a little fancy tool, it has all the different sizes I need. And I am just going to loosen it. And I can kind of just twist this to get it going. Little hack, and then I pull it out. And once again, this is why I am changing it out, because this definitely would have clogged. There's a bunch of plastic still stuck down there, so it's really hot because, once again, this is at 250 degrees Celsius. So have this out, and I'll place it right there, let it cool down a little bit before I touch it. And next is to remove the nozzle. So like I said before, next goal was to remove the nozzle. It is very hot. You're not going to want to touch it or you will get burned. So I already got it started, but just slowly twisting it off. And I have the bed centered so that this will drop and land on it, and it can cool down like right there, because it is very, very hot. So once that is off, the first thing I like to do is kind of look down, and sometimes there's plastic stuck in there when I get a bad clog. I'll use an old Bowden tube and kind of push it down in there to get any remaining bits of plastic. You can see a little piece right there, but just feeding it through, kind of pushing up and down to get that plastic out. So once again, sometimes I keep old tubes to get plastic out that might be causing a clog. I can go both ways. Once again, it's very hot, to be very, very careful. But yeah, once again, more plastic that I don't want in there. So do that until you think you got all the remaining plastic out of it, and then we'll move on to the next part. Awesome, so I have the new nozzle in there. It's all the way tight. I did it off camera because I didn't want to burn myself, but rule of thumb that has helped me is from all the way tight, kind of loosen it almost 3/4 of a turn, and I'm just going to leave it there for the time being. And the reason I'm doing that is I want it completely flush with the tube after I insert it, and that will prevent any clogging, because all the plastic will go where it's supposed to, out of the nozzle, instead of getting melted and stuck in the heating cartridge. So once again, being super careful and saving myself time by getting this mostly on and with my hand. This one I am gonna want to tighten pretty snug, and once that's in there, once that's loose a 1/4 turn, I'm then going to grab my brand new Bowden tube, and I am going to push it in until it hits the bottom. So once again, it is hot, so I'm being super careful, but I want to do this while it's hot, because with heat, metal and other objects expand. So I want this to be snug. So once again, I am, after inserting the tube, going to secure it. Oh, wrong one. And make sure it is sealed so that no plastic gets out. Alright, that's snug. This is connected. Last, just gotta connect this back piece and make sure that's there. Boom. So now that's connected, gotta put my new silicone cover on. This is really hot, be careful, don't recommend doing this like you're seeing, but just make sure that that is on snug. So have that on, have everything connected. Gonna put a little piece of tape to secure this so the wire is not getting in the way, and I'll re-secure the fan, and then we'll go from there. So there it is, we have it reassembled, got it all pretty, have it taped up, everything is secure, got the cover on, the nozzle, the fan, everything is back together. So one thing that's super important, and something that I like to do before I feed in the filament, is I like to make sure that it is level. Some printers have an auto leveler device that helps with that. I do not. I prefer the old-fashioned way, and I'll show you guys how to do that. First, I'm going to start by pressing auto home, and have this return to its 0, 0, 0 coordinate, and I will start leveling from there. So now that it's back at its home, after I pressed auto home, next I'm going to need a slightly thick piece of paper. This came with the printer when I bought it, and as you can tell, I've used it many times for this. I will show you what I'm going to do. You do need 2 hands for this, but essentially under each corner you have a knob, and you will twist the knob to make the bed in each corner go either up or down. So this is how I'm going to level it, is with each of the 4 knobs. What is the paper needed for? So what I'm going to do to make sure it's the right distance, I'm going to slide this in between the plate and nozzle, and see it's way too close. It probably would have clogged because it's really resisting me as I push it back and forth. And like I said, you're going to need 2 hands for this. You're going to use 1 hand to turn this knob, and 1 hand to move this and slide it back and forth. And the idea is you want it to just ever so slightly rub. So you don't want it like going freely and super easy to move, and you don't want it super hard and a lot of resistance. You want just ever so slight resistance, which means that the distance between the bed and the nozzle will be about as far as this paper is thick. So you're going to need 2 hands to do it. You'll do it on all 4 corners, and that's how you're going to level it. And like I said, I do this before I put in the filament because I want to make sure that it is level. Awesome, so now my bed is level. I did the same thing on all 4 corners, and it is level to my liking. So once you auto home, you'll go to the bottom left corner, and you'll get it to each of the other corners by moving the axes. You'll move the y-axis to 290, 300 to get it to that corner. You'll move the x-axis to 300, 290, 300 to get it to that corner, and then you'll move y-axis back down to 0 to get to this corner. And then after that, you can just press auto home and it'll go back. So next step is to load the filament, and it's already back near the plate. I personally do not like to load filament when it's that close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the move axes, but only this time I'm going to move the z-axis, and I am going to move it up to about 80 or 90, just so I can have space beneath the nozzle and see what's coming out. So 80 or 90, going to need to grab this. Looks like it's stuck, so I'm going to trim it. Get rid of this. And I have the filament that I'm going to load in. So when I'm loading, I'm going to slip it through right here. I need this a little bit straighter for me, make it a little bit easier. So cut that off. It's a little bit straighter now. I'm going to insert in here. I need to pinch and push. Sorry, this is usually done with 2 hands, and I'm gonna have to do it with 2 hands, but you will pinch this and feed it through with the other hand, and I'm gonna keep pushing until I feel resistance, and it will start coming out and streaming out of the nozzle. So once again, another 2-handed job. I'm gonna start feeding in the filament, and once I feel resistance, I'm going to stop pushing and see if any comes out. Not a lot should come out. I just want to get it all the way to the nozzle, and the resistance is a good indicator of that. All right, so I've used both hands. I've fed the plastic in, and I pushed it until I felt resistance. None's coming out yet, So what I'm going to do, and this is just a habit of mine that I like to do, I am going to go to move axis, and you've used the X, you've used the Y, you've used the Z. I'm going to go to extruder, and I'm going to move the extruder a bit. So I'll go probably 50, 60, you don't have to do that much, but this is going to start spinning and pushing the filament out, and it's going to start stringing out like this. So a good indicator that you've gotten rid of a clog or you've done this correctly is it will come out straight. If it starts spaghettiing up and coming out in globs right there, that means you probably have a clog. But it's coming out pretty straight, which is a good indicator. Once again, you don't have to do 50 or 60, 30 works well, but you just want it to be coming out straight and not hesitating, and that's how you know that you were successful and that you've loaded your filament successfully. So now that we've done that, we can start a print, and I'll show you what I like to do every time I start a print. Awesome, so now it's auto home. I have the bed heating up right now. Something that I like to do that helps with adhesion. Some people are super opposed to this. I think it works fine, especially if I keep an eye on the first few layers. But Elmer's glue, I just wipe it or rub it around on the plate, and it creates a sticky texture on the plate that allows for good adhesion and helps with the first base layers, which are super important, because if those don't stick, your print will fail. So I like to rub glue on it. It helps a ton for adhesion purposes, and it helps me start my prints. And once again, everything that I just did, if you just take a look at that, that's a good visual of what it means for your Bowden tube to be clogged. And that's PETG, which won't melt at lower temperatures that you print PLA at. So once again, when you have a clog, sometimes you need to replace the Bowden tube, replace the nozzle. Sometimes if your Bowden tube is long enough, you can just go and clip that part off, because the rest of the tube is fine, and you can reuse the tube. So I do that to save tubes, so I don't go through as many, because that can get expensive. So once again, it's a good visual of why I did everything I did. I don't want to run a print with this at the end of my tube. So take care of those clogs, get rid of them. It's not that hard. You are taking your printer apart, but it's worth it and helps with getting clean prints. So now that it's ready to go, I select what file I'm wanting to print, and off it goes. So this is going to end up being the bottom part of a tank trooper helmet that I'm making. But what I'm doing now is actually really important. I want to make sure, let's focus there, that the extrusion is good, that it's sticking. So the CR10 and other FDM printers will do a smooth line when they start, and then they'll start on the print. So I'm basically going to watch this first layer and make sure it's not turning into spaghetti and that it is adhering to the plate. This is super important because if it doesn't adhere, it is going to ruin your print. The first layer is by far the most important. So make sure that you're watching your printer on the first layer, making sure that it is adhering and that it, and make sure that the nozzle is a good distance from the printer. when you need to make adjustments, say it's too close or too far. If it's not sticking, that means it's too far. If nothing's coming out on the plate, then that means it's too close. You want to find the perfect medium. So you'll use these and just adjust them ever so slightly as needed to make sure that the adhesion is happening and that the plastic is adhering to the plate. So if I look right here, it's not exactly adhering down here, it kind of pulled up, so that means I need to be closer to the plate. Over on the left it looks good, so I'm probably going to adjust these two bottom parts. But yeah, once again, watching it go, it's supposed to be a clean circle and that's not happening, so I need to make sure it's a little bit closer. So I'll adjust those knobs to make sure it is the correct distance. So it's been going for about 30 minutes and I feel pretty good about it, so I'm going to leave it and we'll revisit in the morning and see how it's doing. Yep, so we'll see how well it's doing 8 hours from now and see if it fails or if it's doing alright and if it'll be a good print. So here we are again. This is actually about 5 hours in. There was a little hiccup and I actually ended up having to restart it in the morning, but this time it has adhered properly. Looks like it's printing pretty well, and my word of advice is just keep an eye on it as it's going. It's already past the most difficult part, which is adhering to the plate and getting a good base foundation for the print, but things can still go wrong, so just keep an eye on it. And that is how you fix a clog, level your bed, and start a print. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'm going to try to keep getting more content out for you guys and show you how I do everything I do. Hope you enjoyed this.